Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Red Chamber. The top scholar's illegitimate son, I secretly sell Tongling Baoyu traveling through the world of dream of the Red Chamber, becoming the illegitimate son of the Jia family, starting by selling Jia Baoyu's spiritual treasure to buy a maid, participating in scientific examinations. Obtain a mysterious treasure chest where new skills or items can be unlocked every day, such as martial arts, calligraphy, smelting techniques. Since I am reborn, I cannot let the Jia family fall and repeat the same mistakes, and there are also those 12 golden hairpins. Lin Daiyu. Brother Lang, after practicing the yoga you taught me, my body has become better and softer. Maid Xiren said, young master, Xiren is willing to have sex. Jia Zheng. Heaven bless the Jia family, our Jia family is going to produce talented individuals. This book mainly writes about the affairs of Jia Mansion and the court. The protagonist will follow the path of scientific research, and everything is inferior, except for reading. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 3. Beating Jia Baoyu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A fierce beating. The ground howls everywhere. A few servants covered their injured parts, rolling and wriggling on the ground, screaming in pain. These servants of Jia Baoyu can bully ordinary people in their daily lives. But in front of Jia Lang, he couldn't even pass a turn and was already lying on the ground howling in agony. 10 years of basic martial arts. Jia Lang roughly predicted that his current military strength, even in the entire state of Zhou, would be enough to become a small general. As for Jia Baoyu, 2 panda eyes were blasted out by Jia Lang's 2 fists, turning red and bruised until tomorrow. It's just a complete panda eye. Jia Lang's courtyard is remote. There was no one living nearby, and Jia Baoyu and a few others were lying on the ground howling, but no one could hear them. It's just making Jia Lang's brain ache. Shut up. Jia Lang's voice was cold, he moved his wrists and shoulders, looking at Jia Baoyu and the servants on the ground with a mischievous smile on his face. Thinking of the scene just now where Jia Lang violently attacked himself. Several people lying on the ground felt a burst of cold sweat coming from behind, and quickly shut up, afraid to continue speaking. These guys, Jia Lang doesn't intend to spare them lightly. But if we talk about using our dead hands, it's impossible. After all, I have a high level of military strength now. If I kill Jia Baoyu and the others, I will definitely be caught. Jia Lang is not sure. Jia Baoyu has never mentioned it to anyone when she came here, and it is uncertain whether she was seen by anyone else when she came here. I am a commoner. Being found plotting to harm one's legitimate son is simply a matter of death. So before gaining absolute strength, it's better to do something that you can bear the consequences. I can't have saved the beautiful golden hairpins yet. Just die a miserable death. Looking at Jia Lang with cold eyes in front of him, Jia Baoyu couldn't help but shudder again when he thought of the scene where Jia Lang had hit him hard just now. Looking away, I dare not look directly at Jia Lang. Humph. Jia Lang snorted coldly and looked at the dilapidated yard that had not yet been cleaned. He spoke up, you guys came knocking on me today. If you don't teach me a lesson, you'll think I'm easy to bully. Jia Lang, what are you doing? Don't forget, you're just an illegitimate son. I, Jia Baoyu, am my legitimate son. If you dare to hit me again, my ancestors will definitely not spare you. Jia Baoyu felt a little unconfident in his heart. Although he claims to be the legitimate son and the beloved heir of the old prince, there is no one around this dilapidated courtyard. It was originally built temporarily to store things later on. It can be said that shouting to break his throat may not necessarily call someone. When I came in, I even had the servant lock the door. It's really frustrating to say that every day doesn't respond, and the ground doesn't work. If this kid is a dumbfounded young man who even beats himself up despite the punishment of the old prince, then Jia Baoyu doesn't want to be beaten again. Now I just want to leave here quickly, and then teach this ignorant Jia Lang who has already caused a big trouble in front of me a lesson. Since everyone has arrived, don't be idle. Clean up my yard, otherwise no one will want to leave today. Just as Jia Lang finished speaking, he punched the withered tree next to him. Sawdust dancing. A loud bang. The withered tree was directly shattered by Jia Lang's punch. Even though it was a withered tree, Jia Lang's punch shook the eyes of several guys in front of him. I couldn't help but burst into a cold sweat from behind. Jia Lang sat on the dilapidated chair at the door, watching Jia Baoyu with a few servants, grinning and cleaning himself up. Although this small courtyard is very dilapidated. But upon closer reflection, it's not bad either, but it's just a lack of some pavilions, towers, bridges, and flowing water. A few black brick houses with a basketball court-sized yard, where you can plant some flowers and plants. And there aren't many people in a large area nearby. This small courtyard. The main storage items are tools for planting flowers and plants, or for craftsmen to work with. They are hidden in the large garden rockeries of Jia Mansion and can be considered a tool room. Silence is silence. Pushing open the door, you will find a park of flowers, plants, and rockeries. Look at the spiritual treasure in your hand. Jia Lang thinks that the first money sold should go to buy a servant or something like a maid. Otherwise, you still need to clean up by yourself. It's not easy to clean up this yard. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. First encounter with Li Wan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Under the cleaning of Jia Baoyu and a few servants, the small courtyard quickly became clean and tidy. The sky is dim, it's already evening. Jia Lang just released Jia Baoyu and these guys to leave, while he went back to his house to rest. This despicable Jia Lang is really deceiving others too much. I've been feeling really sore in my back all day. Young master, we must not easily forgive this kid. A small illegitimate son should have taken action against you. It's really too reckless. We must tell our ancestors and wives to punish him well. This kid's attack is too heavy. My arm still hurts now. I absolutely can't spare him lightly. Let's go tell madam now. The few servants following behind Jia Baoyu bared their teeth and looked bitter with resentment. I thought I was a soft egg. Who knows? Still a tough guy, there's not even a single person in this rundown place. Today can be considered a disaster. Shut up. As soon as the servants finished speaking, Jia Baoyu frowned and said angrily. I'll tell you all. Today's situation must not be told to anyone, understand? If anyone says it out, I'll break his dog leg. As for the injury on my face, let's talk about playing with you and accidentally hitting it. Oh my, it hurts me so much. After hearing Jia Baoyu's instructions, a few servants dared not speak too much and quickly nodded in agreement. In Jia Baoyu's heart, I am the legitimate son of the Jia family and also bring a few servants. Unexpectedly, he was scolded by an illegitimate son. If this matter were to be spread, would you still be ashamed? So this matter must be sealed off no matter what, and Jia Lang will definitely not say anything about it. But I remember this revenge today. The days are still long. I always have a way out myself, teach this guy a good lesson. After returning to the room, Jia Baoyu lied to a few maids and warned them not to tell anyone. Let's see if it can be resolved as soon as possible to prevent others from seeing the joke. I hurriedly went to sleep. Jia Lang put the box on the bed. This box can only be seen and touched by oneself, it can be considered as one's own golden finger. The 10 years of basic martial arts skills that appeared today can be considered a great help to oneself. It can also be considered as giving oneself some self-protection ability in the world of red mansions, but I am curious about what good things will appear tomorrow. It's already late today. Wait until tomorrow. Go sell the Tongling treasure Jade again, and also buy some maids from the people's market. In the human market, the status of women is very low. And anyone can sell women, landlords and poor people can sell, husbands and parents can sell. The first type is the buying and selling price for underage maids, which belongs to maids under the age of 13. The buying and selling price is about 4 taels of silver to 5 taels of silver. This type of maids is the lowest price because girls under the age of 13 have not fully developed into adults and cannot bear some heavy physical labor. At the same time, they cannot be bought as tools for their owners. The second type is the buying and selling price for an adult but not beautiful maid. For a 17-year-old and not beautiful maid, the buying and selling price is 10 taels of silver. So being older means an increase in labor force, so the price will also be higher. The third type is the buying and selling price for beautiful maids, ranging from 3 liang to 16 liang. 16 taels is the highest price for buying a maid. Therefore, the important factor determining the price increase of maids is their appearance. As for the current prices, the purchasing power of silver as a hard currency is still quite high. 1 or 2 silver coins can buy 350 kilograms of rice, 140 kilograms of flour, 50 kilograms of pork, 16 kilograms of cotton, or 50 kitchen knives. Attention, please do not associate these materials with modern prices. The prices of agricultural products produced by modern industry have dropped significantly compared to that time. Of course. If encountering a disaster year, perhaps 1 or 2 silver coins or even a bag of rice can be exchanged for a good maid. I don't know how much this spiritual treasure Jade can sell for. But there's always no problem buying a maid, and Jia Lang has already figured out who to sell this Jade to. If it is an ordinary pawnshop, it will definitely not be accepted. After all, Jia Baoyu's Jade has a great reputation. But if it's the pawn shop of the loyal and obedient king's lineage, I believe they are very willing to accept it. Goo 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 goo. Just at this moment, Jia Lang suddenly felt his stomach scream. Jia Mansion, these inconspicuous servants, didn't bring themselves any food all afternoon and didn't take themselves seriously at all. Now we can only find something to eat ourselves. Remember, there are a few scattered peacocks nearby, just grab them and bake them. Open the courtyard gate. Jia Lang shuttles through the garden, searching for the traces of peacocks according to the memories of the day. The garden of Jia Mansion is very large. Woo 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 woo. Just as Jia Lang was searching for the traces of peacocks in the garden, a small sobbing sound suddenly sounded ahead. Accompanied by it, there is also a white shadow. Jia Lang was immediately frightened and his back turned cold, but after taking a closer look, he realized it wasn't a ghost. But it's a woman. She has a graceful figure, with a slender waist of willows and a top-notch figure. She is wearing a silk white dress and a pair of embroidered white shoes under her feet. Jia Lang couldn't help but swallow his saliva to himself, his figure is really good. Just a rope hanging from a nearby peach tree. Look at this. I'm planning to hang myself. The woman looked about 20.1 or 12 years old, but in her past life, she was full of youth. Under the tree, the woman's eyebrows and eyes were filled with a faint sadness, as if there were countless sorrows. Exquisite facial features. Give people an elegant and virtuous temperament, and at first glance, they will be a lady from a wealthy family. This won't be one of the 12 golden hairpins, Li Wan, right? P.S. There are not many authors who write novels about the Red Chamber on the website. I believe readers also know that the reason why authors choose to write about the Red Chamber is because they love the stories inside the Red Chamber, so they have a great understanding of the Red Chamber. In addition, they are old authors themselves, so there will be no toxic points in the text. But as we all know, whether a book can continue to be written during the free period mainly depends on data such as monthly flower tickets and review tickets. We hope that readers of the Red Chamber can provide the author with some support and motivation to continue writing. Let others know that Red Chamber novels also have a future. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Bringing Li Wan home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Wan. One of the 12 hairpins in Jinling, styled Gongkai. She is the wife of Jia Zhu, the eldest grandson of Ronghua Prefecture. Jia Zhu died young and survived with a son named Jia Lan. She is also the daughter of a famous eunuch in Jinling, with her father's name Li Shozhong. She once served as a sacrificial wine for the Imperial Academy. Li Wan is young and widowed, her heart is like withered wood and dead ashes, chaste and tranquil, elegant and dignified, adept at handling things, yet detached from others. She is an ancient well without waves in the deep alley, and she is a melodious evening bell in the evening mist. That ancient well, that evening bell, calm and composed, yet also full of vicissitudes. According to the timeline, Jia Zhu may have been dead for quite some time, leaving only Li Wan and a son alive in the world. Look at the ropes on the peach tree. Jia Lang probably guessed in his heart that this was not about hanging himself, was it? When I saw the Red Chamber in my past life. Jia Lang has a great fondness for the woman Li Wan, and can be said to be a model of a virtuous wife and mother. And unlike other masters of the Jia family who are extravagant and wasteful, they are very frugal, and they are also one of the few people in the Jia family who can still survive after being robbed of their home. And even though Li Wan is a little widow, but beautiful as a flower, at the age of 20.2 or 13. In a past life. She's just a tender little woman. Give Jia Lang a feeling of complete familiarity, and if given the opportunity, he naturally wants to. Same. This Li Wan is Jia Baoyu's sister. In.law. Li Wan under the peach tree. When Jia Lang's mind was filled with daydreams, he had already stood up and tied his neck to the rope. And then. The stone was kicked, and Li Wan's body immediately hung in the air. The intense pain and suffocation kept Li Wan struggling. Not good. Upon seeing this, Jia Lang immediately widened his eyes and let out a bad cry before quickly charging towards Li Wan ahead. Rush to the front. Waves of fragrant breeze kept drilling into my nose, it smells so good. Holding on to Li Wan's legs with both hands, she suddenly pushed her head upwards and her head was immediately pushed out of the rope loop. Then, my whole body softened. He collapsed on the ground, his eyes tightly closed, and naturally he was unconscious. There were faint red marks on his fair neck, which was heartbreaking. Li Wan truly deserves to be one of the 12 golden hairpins. A flawless little face, with delicate and serene features, I'm afraid any man who meets such a woman would have the first thought of marrying back home and becoming a legitimate wife. And lying in Jia Lang's arms. Jia Lang's ability to feel a soft and crispy body is simply a dream for all men. This big night. If I call myself someone now, others will definitely gossip when they see a big man and Li Wan in the garden bushes. Li Wan is a little widow. Once there is a rumor, I'm afraid it will become even more unbearable. I don't know much about first aid myself. There is no one around here, the night is dark and the wind is high. Besides, embracing a delicate person. So, Jia Lang brought Li Wan back to his yard, preparing to let her leave on her own after she woke up. Before leaving, Jia Langshan discovered 2 peacocks, and 10 years of basic military strength made it easy for Jia Lang to stone and kill his prey, and he went home to roast the peacocks. Because I am also here for the first time. So everything was very simple. After Jia Lang placed Li Wan on the bed, carefully tasted it, and then disposed of the peacock. Just wait for half an hour, and the delicious night snack will be ready. Where is this? Soon. When Jia Lang was just dealing with the peacock, Li Wan, lying in bed, slowly opened her eyes and looked around at the environment. A hint of panic appeared on her face. At night. A woman suddenly wakes up in a strange place. I'm afraid everyone is a bit panicked. Especially when I see a man standing next to me. Quickly pulling the blanket onto himself, his body leaned tightly against the wall behind him, scrutinizing Jia Lang and his surroundings, his voice trembling and panicking as he spoke. What kind of place is this? Who are you? Why am I here? P.S. The data is really dismal. Brothers, please ask for a wave of flowers and monthly tickets, evaluation tickets, sigh. The author will persist. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Red Building Update Rules. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Before putting it on the shelves, fix 6 shifts every day. 5,000 fresh flowers and 1 updated sheet, 50 monthly tickets plus 1 replacement, 500 bonus plus 1 update, 3 customizable and 1 updated sheet, 20 comments plus 1 update, 50 reminders. 1 more reminder, 500 reviews plus 1 update, add 1 more photo on Sunday, add a new one during holidays, readers add a new one for their birthday, someone broke up and added a new one, the author inherits billions of inheritance and adds more. Let's talk more. Readers inherit billions of inheritance and add 10 more photos, and by the way, recognize a brother. Every flower of yours is the greatest support for the author. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. 10-Year Basic Force. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Take the top spot. This is Jia Lang's thoughtful idea. As the saying goes, all things are inferior, only reading is high, even in the great Zhou dynasty. Military officials of the same level are half as short as civil officials. The tragic fate of the Red Chamber, which Jia Lang was somewhat indignant in his past life. Lin Daiyu died of illness, Shui Baochai remained widowed, Wang Shifeng died of illness in prison, Qin Keqing was forced to have an affair by her husband, and died of miscarriage. Even more, Ing Chun was dragged by his father to pay off debts and beaten to death. Miao Yu was even kidnapped by a group of bandits and used as a tool for pleasure. The entire Jia Mansion. To die, to escape, fate is tragic. Since I have traveled through time, I must change the solution of the Red Chamber and save the 12 golden hairpins from fire and water. Of course. There are some people who are unwilling to rescue themselves, and even have the opportunity to throw Jia Baoyu, Mrs. Wang, and Jia Zheng who have fallen into the well. These people, damn it. The Jia Mansion is destroyed. It's no different from the friction between the loyal and obedient king led by the new aristocracy and the old aristocratic king of Beijing. Seizing the handle of the Jia family, the emperor couldn't bear to see the absurdity of the Jia family, so he copied it. How to be honest and low-key in the Jia family. The emperor, remembering the founding achievements of the Jia family back then, would not take action. After all, the 2 ancestors of the Jia family can be said to have supported the founding of the Zhou dynasty. Now, in the army, the authority of the Jia family still exists. That's also why. The reason why Jia Mansion only has 1 5th-rank official, Jia Zheng, and 1 concubine as pillars, but still relies on the old aristocrats as the main force. To change everything, one must enter the court. When Jia Yuanchun was a noble consort in the harem, he could still protect the Jia family. Once Jia Yuanchun passed away, he lost his protection and became a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. A 5th-grade worker in the Ministry of Works was not even valued by anyone. Take the imperial examination, it's not urgent yet. I haven't passed the boy test yet. There's one more thing. Just sell the precious jade found in Ningbo Prefecture. Jia Baoyu relies on this jade, but he is showing off in the Jia Mansion. He wants to see what will happen if he loses this jade. On the precious jade, there is a poem written. Jia Lang, who had seen the red chamber in his previous life, naturally knew that this was Jia Baoyu's spiritual treasure, but he accidentally found it. Jia Baoyu, this guy is just a scumbag who dare not take responsibility for causing the girl to jump into the well and commit suicide. He is an arrogant garbage. Just being born with a piece of jade. Every day boasting about oneself as the son of fate makes me unhappy. Even Jia Lang suspected that this might have been forgotten by Jia Zheng and Mrs. Wang while having fun. However, now it's better to tidy up the yard first. After all, this will be your own small home in the future. Bang! Next second. Just as Jia Lang was preparing to tidy up the yard properly, there was a dull sound. The gate of the yard was suddenly kicked open by someone. Outside the door, standing with Jia Baoyu and his few servants. On his head, he wore a purple gold crown with bunched hair and jewels embedded in it. Chi Mei led ere long to grab the pearl gold and plaster his forehead. He wore a pair of two-color gold and 100 butterflies and flowered red arrow sleeves. He was tied with multicolored silk and gathered flower knot long tassel palace tapers. He was covered with a blue and white flowered 8 regiments of Japanese forging in pairwise jackets. He was wearing green satin foundation make-up small court boots. At first glance, it looks like a young master from a wealthy family. At this moment, but with a few servants, he walked towards Jia Lang in a fierce manner, looking up and down with a disdainful expression in his eyes. A few servants next to him surrounded Jia Lang. As long as the master gives an order, these 5 servants will flock forward and become the most loyal dogs. After a few servants and Jia Baoyu come in. By the way, locking the courtyard gate seems to be preventing Jia Lang from escaping. Are you Jia Lang? Jia Baoyu spoke with anger in his voice and asked. Jia Lang was puzzled in his heart. I don't know why Jia Baoyu came to find me. Is it because this guy knows that he found his spiritual treasure? It's impossible. When I found the Tongling treasure jade, there was no one beside me, and I didn't tell anyone about it either. Humph, he is indeed a wild species. There are no rules at all. Don't you know that the illegitimate son should greet and salute his legitimate son? Your mother didn't teach you well outside. In this Jia Mansion, let me teach you a lesson and let you know what rules are. Give me a good lesson. How dare you anger my mother? See if I don't kill you. There was no chance to explain or apologize to Jia Lang, so he immediately rushed towards him with his servant, punching and kicking. The servant next to me has seen this. 6-1. Isn't this just complete abuse? In order to show his loyalty, he immediately rushed towards Jia Lang. Jia Lang's eyes lit up with a cold light. Wild seed. Although I am not the biological son of Jia Lang's mother, at least I have taken over the position of someone else's son. Now I hear someone cursing me for being a wild seed. Jia Lang, who had long seen Jia Baoyu displeased, naturally planned to teach this big-faced plate a good lesson. Fortunately, before that, I have already gained 10 years of basic military strength, and there is no problem dealing with these guys in front of me. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 1. The illegitimate son of the Jia family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jia Mansion. One of the 4 major families, Jia Baoyu and Baoyu, are the horses of Tangjin. With 1 family and 2 waiting periods, they can be said to have unlimited scenery. It's just a wild bastard picked up outside. What kind of treatment do you want? Can it be difficult? Treat me the same way as my precious son who has precious jade in his mouth, the son of fate, and the literary and musical star descending to earth. There's a small yard to the west of the yard that used to store miscellaneous items, let him live there. Jia Mansion, in the antique lobby. On the aged redwood chair, Mrs. Wang's face was gloomy as she instructed the people below. Recently, the Jia Mansion has caused a commotion. It turned out that Mr. Jia Zheng brought back an illegitimate child from outside, which was a shocking event. Mrs. Wang is trying her best to disagree. Just ruin the reputation of the family. But unable to resist Jia Zheng's insistence, he had to let this illegitimate son enter and stay inside. This matter. Naturally, it has also become a topic of discussion for everyone in the Jia Mansion after tea and dinner. Upon learning that his mother had been so angry that she smashed everything in the house, Jia Baoyu was immediately furious. A little illegitimate son. Is it still illegitimate and worthy of letting the mother get so angry? We must teach a good lesson. Immediately. Jia Baoyu led his 5 servants, 1 named Ming Yan, 2 named Yin Quan, 3 named Sweeping Flowers, 4 named Picking Clouds, and 5 named Accompanying Cranes. Hurrying towards Jia Lang's courtyard, with a fierce momentum. This posture. I have no intention of giving up until I break Jia Lang's leg. It can also be considered as giving a downward pressure. Let him know. The distinction between legitimate and illegitimate. The legitimate son is the superior master, and the illegitimate son is ultimately the illegitimate son. In the dilapidated courtyard west of Jia Mansion, Jia Lang let out a long sigh. After all, Jia Mansion is one of the 4 major families. The houses of each young lady and master must be made of precious wood, carved buildings and painted buildings, and decorated with coral agate. The small river murmurs in front of the door, and the fragrant breeze bursts inside. The gap is still too big. The yard is just a dilapidated black brick house, as it is for storing things, it looks very sturdy. This kind of house. In the Jia Mansion, it's just a place for the lowest servant to live, extremely shabby. Even some influential maids. That house is also carved beams and painted rafters, a first-class house with good furnishings. Although I am just a commoner. But being arranged here is enough to show Mrs. Wang's displeasure towards her, as if she is afraid of competing for family property with her son Jia Baoyu. My identity is just a commoner. Competing with his son's legitimate son Jia Baoyu for a fart's inheritance, this old woman is just too sensitive. It's like his son's belongings are not allowed to be contaminated by anyone. Even the Ronghua mansion, which does not belong to his son, has been designated by him as his own son's property. Ronghua's legitimate eldest son is Jia Shi, and his legitimate eldest grandson is Jia Lian. The final property should also belong to Jia Lian, who is Wang Shifeng's man. But due to the preference of her grandmother, Mrs. Wang had the idea of taking Ronghua Mansion as her own. However, fortunately, I have successfully entered the Jia Mansion. There are only 3 things I have to do now. The first thing is to sell the spiritual treasure jade found in Ronghua Mansion. The second thing is to become the top scorer. The third thing is to figure out the purpose of this box. That's right. In front of Jia Lang, there was actually a box that only he could open and only he could see. Since I came through, this box is beside me, and there is a corpse of Jia Lang who looks exactly like me. So, I can be considered a fake and inferior Jia Lang. There is only one note in the alley, enter the Jia Mansion and become a commoner. I thought it would take a lot of effort. I didn't expect my mother, no, it should be said that the deceased Jia Lang's mother begged hard before she passed away, and finally made Jia Zheng accept me into the Jia Mansion with a soft heart. Then, he died with all his might. Open it and take a look. Looking at the box in front of him, Jia Lang felt that this big and small box must be the golden finger that changed his destiny. Make the thumb-sized box bigger. Open the box, a refreshing scent of wood. In this box, what appeared was no longer the previous note, but a yellowed ancient book. The cover reads, 10 Years of Basic Martial Arts, What is this thing? Looking at the books in the box, Jia Lang looked bewildered and curiously reached out to grab them. When my hand just touched a book, the books inside the box automatically disappeared, and Jia Lang's mind was filled with many memories he had never had before, and his body muscles were also beginning to change. In 3 minutes, Jia Lang's body has evolved from an ordinary teenager to a teenager with six-pack abs, terrifying explosive power, and combat prowess. My current strength is equivalent to 10 years of hard training for martial artists. But 17 or 18 years old. But beating 5 or 6 young people is absolutely no problem. And I have thoroughly understood the function of the box myself. Every day, one or more magical items will randomly appear in the box, allowing oneself to dominate the world of the Red Chamber. This can also be considered my own golden finger. Next. It's just the first and second thing. Sell the Tongling treasure Jade. Take the top spot. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Li Wan, still a yellow flower girl, Shuang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at Li Wan on the bed with a panicked appearance, Jia Lang briefly explained the process to Li Wan. However, wearing a light and thin white robe, Li Wan was delicate and graceful, with a virtuous and dignified expression of crying and chattering. Any man has seen it. I'm afraid I can't help but feel a little protective in my heart. Hold this pitiful-looking woman in my arms and love her well. After hearing what Jia Lang said, and the last scene she saw when she was about to faint, along with Jia Lang's identity, made Li Wan believe that what Jia Lang said was true. Thinking that she didn't die this time, Li Wan's heart became even more worried. Li Wan's sister. Law, how come you can't bear to go hang yourself? Did you encounter any difficulties? Jia Lang sat by the bed, his voice gentle with a male special magnetic tone, asking with a strong sense of safety and closeness. Jia Lang was very familiar with Dream of the Red Chamber in his past life. Li Wan has no suicidal tendencies. Although she is a small widow, she is full of hope in life, clean and virtuous, frugal and virtuous. Ah, I live in this world, what else do I have to worry about? Day and night, I sleep in the cold room and yard, feeling cold every night, like a dead person lying in a coffin. What is the difference between me like this, or between me and death? If you die, you'll end up feeling relaxed. Li Wan let out a long sigh, her tone filled with endless melancholy. Death was no longer a fear, but an infinite longing. Li Wan's sister. Law, have you ever thought about what Lan'er would do if you left? Jia Lang thinks. Women. Especially for mothers, they are willing to give their children unconditionally. When they think of having young children, they may persist in living for their children. Lan'er. What Lan'er? Just as Jia Lang finished speaking, Li Wan looked at him with a puzzled expression on her face, full of confusion and forced words. Seeing Li Wan's expression, Jia Lang was also somewhat surprised and probing. Jia Lan, have you forgotten your son? Uncle, don't joke, where did I get my son? Li Wan let out a long sigh and shook her head, saying, no son. As soon as Li Wan finished speaking, Jia Lang's eyes widened instantly. A face full of shock and disbelief. Can you say that? The changes in the plot of the Red Chamber. After Jia Lang's repeated inquiries, he finally learned about Li Wan's situation. Like the world of red buildings. This Li Wan. Indeed, she is also Li Wan, and also the daughter-in-law of the Jia family. These have hardly changed, the only thing that has changed is on the day Li Wan got married. Jia Zhu. That is to say, Jia Baoyu's brother, Mrs. Wang and Jia Zheng's son, had already passed away before they had a chance to live with Li Wan. Natural. It's impossible for any offspring to stay. This is also the reason why Li Wan wants to commit suicide. In this vast Jia Mansion, helpless, lonely and cold, it's really torture. And at Li Wan's age, she is at a ripe age. No man's tenderness. It's like being in hell, it's better to just die. Marry into a big family like the Jia family. It is almost impossible to remarry. Look at Li Wan in front of you. At this moment, Jia Lang's eyes were shining brightly, like a fierce wolf. Anyway, Jia Lang wouldn't have thought that Li Wan not only had no offspring. Still a virgin. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Li Wan Agrees. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sister-in-law. Next second. Jia Lang rushed forward and reached out to hold Li Wan's soft and boneless little hand, smooth and warm, truly the best in the world. Li Wan's father is the sacrificial wine of the Imperial Academy. So since childhood, I have always been pampered and treated well. My 10 fingers are not touched by the sunshine and spring water, and my little hands are naturally soft like jade, without any rough feeling. Li Wan's little hand was suddenly grabbed by Jia Lang and startled. I instinctively want to retract my hand. But Jia Lang's strength was too strong and he didn't recoil at once. And Li Wan could clearly feel a warm current instantly coming from her wrist, flowing all over her body. It's like a lightning bolt. Li Wan has grown up. Almost no contact with the opposite sex, referring to physical contact. On the day of marriage, Li Wan had a chance, but Jia Zhu didn't win and just died. From now on, Li Wan has never had contact with any men again. Until now. Li Wan's first encounter with a man. When Jia Lang's big hand grasped his small hand, Li Wan felt as if she had been electrocuted all over. Eyes that were originally filled with sorrow. At this moment, unexpectedly, he began to feel a bit confused. On his pitiful little face with pear blossoms and rain, a pair of watery big eyes looked at Jia Lang. It made Jia Lang's heart skip a beat. I swallowed my saliva secretly and said, "Sister-in-law, there are actually many beautiful things in life, just be good at discovering them. If sister-in-law feels cold at night, she can come to my place. In the deep garden and jungle of my place, it's quite quiet. If my sister-in-law finds it inconvenient, just let me know and I can go accompany her at night. Talking together, what can't get through?" Jia Lang's words. It can be said to be a very skillful probing. It depends on how Li Wan understands. If Li Wan is not willing, she will naturally say that men and women are not compatible, and it is inconvenient at night. If Li Wan was willing, she would naturally agree. And there's nothing wrong with sister-in-law and uncle talking together. After hearing Jia Lang's words, Li Wan felt her head in a daze, her emotions incredibly complex, and she felt a bit at a loss. A woman who has been neglected for so many years. I naturally yearn for the protection and companionship of men in my heart. But there is a voice in my heart, urging me to abide by the laws of women. Sister-in-law. Jia Lang's face showed a gentle smile, paired with that handsome and upright facial features. Li Wan bit her lips slightly and said, "Uncle, if you're willing, come over and talk to me." Li Wan just finished speaking. Jia Lang secretly rejoiced that Li Wan had already promised herself. However, looking at Li Wan with a nervous expression on her face, Jia Lang felt that she couldn't be too anxious tonight. After all, Li Wan is a very conservative woman. If it's too much now, it is very likely to cause resistance, or Li Wan may suddenly back out. After all, I have had too little contact with Li Wan. But this matter today. I am no different from Li Wan, so I have narrowed a lot of distance and established some inexplicable relationships. I just need to slowly figure it out. After getting a little familiar with Li Wan. Just. P.S. The Flower monthly pass is touching. I am looking for a monthly pass and an evaluation ticket. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Angry Mrs. Wang. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Within the Jia Mansion. Completely falling out, everything is in chaos. My ancestor, what's wrong with losing it? It's just that you lost that deadly thing. Grandmother Jia, with an anxious expression, was spinning around in place. Ancestor, don't worry. The servants have all gone out to find them, and they will definitely find them. Don't worry and damage your body. Wang Shifeng hurriedly walked forward and helped Jia Mu hold on to the road. Don't worry, can that be okay? That's Baoyu's fate. What if we can't find him? Wang Shifeng's words can be considered as igniting Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang, standing next to her, instantly became excited and looked at Wang Shifeng with an angry expression. Her eyes widened and she said. In Mrs. Wang's heart. My own son Baoyu, born with Baoyu in his mouth, is the descendant of Wenxiu Star, the son of the Jia family's fortune. But now the Tongling Baoyu is missing. My own son's luck is also about to be lost. How can I not make Mrs. Wang anxious, so I turned my anger onto Wang Shifeng. If many people in the Jia Mansion are afraid of Mrs. Wang's words. That Wang Shifeng. I'm really not afraid. Wang Shifeng and Mrs. Wang are both daughters of the Wang family. After marrying into the Jia family, Wang Shifeng's father-in-law is the current legitimate son of the Jia family, and the man is the legitimate eldest grandson. What is Jia Zheng? In the future, I, Wang Shifeng, will inherit the Ronggua mansion. Your son's belongings are lost. I have already dispatched servants to search for it, and Wang Shifeng finds it difficult to speak to herself in such a tone. He immediately replied, some people who do something wrong and then vent their anger on others are really funny. How could there be such a person? They are all refined characters. How could Mrs. Wang not know that Wang Shifeng's words were meant for herself? Because of my own son Baoyu's situation. Mrs. Wang had already lost her mind, but she couldn't go and scold Wang Shifeng. She had to vent all her anger on the servants. Pointing to the kneeling servants on the ground, he said, you lowly bastards, if it weren't for fighting and teasing birds with your precious jade, how could you have lost the jade? I see, that jade was lost while you were playing with Baoyu, and you even made your master look like that without any servant appearance. How unreasonable. Someone, pull me all down, everyone hit 30 sticks. Just finished speaking. A few men and stewards walked in outside the door, pulling down the kneeling servants and serving them with sticks. Because Baoyu gave orders earlier. A few servants dare not say that Baoyu's two panda eyes were made by Jia Lang, and they can only admit in their hearts that they were made by themselves. It can be said that it is unjust and unbearable. Soon. Waves of mournful and painful sounds came from outside. Although it is only right for the master to strike down people. But this matter. These servants also feel wronged in their hearts, after all, everything was decided by the second master, and they were just following along. As for the loss of the Tongling Baoyu, what has it to do with them? But I just couldn't bear to hit my own son, so I poured all my anger on these servants. Dare to be angry but not speak up. I feel unhappy in my heart. Jia Baoyu stood on the side, timid and hesitant to speak, afraid that his mother would direct anger towards him. There was no pleading action at all. This makes the servants feel even colder. And you few cheap hooves, they treat you too well on weekdays. Even when the man goes out, he doesn't follow him and only knows how to eat, drink, and play in the yard. Now it's okay, my precious Jade's life is about to be lost. How many of you still have the face to stand here? Pull it down for me, play the hand board. Mrs. Wang has completely lost her sanity and turned into a crazy dog that bites every person she sees. She points to the maids standing next to her, Xiren and Qingwen Shiyue, and says. A few maids dare not speak out, who dares to go up and disobey Mrs. Wang's words now? It's better to get beaten up a few times. Jia Baoyu on the side was so scared that her whole body began to tremble slightly. Wang Shifeng looked disdainful. For Mrs. Wang, there is a hint of annoyance in her heart. When I got married back then. As the daughter-in-law of the legitimate grandson, she should have been in charge of the Rongwa mansion, but ended up being tripped up by Lady Wang. Still the daughter of the same family, treating herself like this. So Wang Shifeng kept it to herself. I don't like Madame Wang. It's just that everyone looks up but doesn't look down, so they just pretend to be there on weekdays. Mrs. Wang, what a mess. The maids and servants around Jia Baoyu also held some grudges and wronged Lady Wang, and by the way, they also had some opinions on the weak and cowardly Jia Baoyu. But as a servant, I dare not speak it out, just say a few words in my heart. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 11. Human Market. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rongwa Mansion. Hey, where's the paper and pen from here? Jia Lang had not yet walked out of the backyard when he saw a small pavilion in front of him, with a piece of paper, ink, pen, and inkstone placed on the table of the pavilion. Surrounding the pavilion is a small lake. Beautiful environment. It's probably the girls from Rongwa Mansion who stayed behind. Since gaining 10 years of basic calligraphy skills, Jia Lang has been itching his hands and can't resist wanting to splash ink and brush his hair. But unfortunately, there has never been any paper, ink, pen, or inkstone. I thought about going out quickly, selling this spiritual treasure Jade, buying a little maid, and also buying some paper, ink, brushes, and inkstones to have a great time. So, after seeing the paper, ink, brushes, and inkstones inside the pavilion, there's no one around. Jia Lang couldn't help but walk up and picked up his pen, as if he was completely integrated with this. The delicate clouds are skillful, the flying stars spread hatred, and the silver man is far away in darkness. When the golden wind and Jade do meet, they surpass countless others in the world. I knew I wouldn't write it so big. Jia Lang frowned. I was too excited just now, which resulted in a large handwriting. A piece of paper is all occupied, and I can no longer continue writing the following 2 sentences. This poem is a favorite of Jia Lang in his past life, and there are a few lines that follow. Roaching is like water, the auspicious period is like a dream, enduring the Magpie Bridge and returning home. If love between both sides can last for aye, why need they stay together night and day? The meaning is that the thin clouds are constantly changing in the sky, the meteors in the sky transmit the sorrow of longing, and I quietly pass through the distant and boundless Milky Way tonight. Meeting on Qixi, the autumn wind and white dew, is better than those couples in the world who have been together for a long time but are seemingly aloof. Shared love, tender like water, brief meeting like a dream, unable to bear to see the Magpie Bridge road when parting. As long as the two lovers remain steadfast until death, there is no need to be greedy for the joys and sorrows of each other. This word is about a love story. If the last 2 lines of love last for a long time, how can they be spread day and night, and even more widely? Coincidentally, only this piece of paper is left inside the pavilion. Under helplessness, Jia Lang had no choice but to put down his pen and walk out of the Jia Mansion, preparing to sell the Tongling treasure Jade first. After purchasing paper, ink, brushes, and inkstones, he could then be more carefree and carefree. However, Jia Lang did not know. This poem quickly spread throughout the entire Ronghua prefecture, and even the entire Jinling city, praising this poem. Jia Lang will soon leave Jia Mansion. With the last bit of silver on my body, I bought some black scarves and hats, as well as a new set of clothes. The big shoes didn't fit well, and I didn't forget to put a stone inside. This way, I would limp and limp when walking. The maids and ladies in Ronghua Mansion are all searching for the whereabouts of Tongling Baoyu and the true spiritual treasure Jade. At this moment, it has been pawned by Jia Lang at Tongshun pawn shop. That's a total of 500 taels of silver. The other party recognized the origin of the Tongling Baoyu at a glance, so Jia Lang did not bargain. The jade itself was not worth any money. Just because I know the way. The other party is only willing to bid 500 taels, and Jia Lang is already very satisfied. Tongshun pawn shop is naturally the one where King Zhongshuan stands behind. After receiving 500 taels of silver, Jia Lang easily killed the scout sent by the other party and threw it into a dry well. In a few days, it is estimated that the stench will soar. First time killing. Jia Lang has some nausea. Quickly changed into his own clothes and went to the tavern to order a few sips of wine. Relax this time. The first time is always not suitable, it will be better from now on. Jia Lang's first goal, of course, is the human market in Jinling, where almost any age group of men or women are sold. Whether it's hardworking or beautiful like flowers. You can find it here. On a large open field, a person with straw tied to their name squats on the ground, waiting for their owner to make a purchase. For aristocratic families like Ronghua Mansion, the slaves bought and sold were very cheap, not worth as much as a few quail eggs. When Lu Lao Lao entered the big estate, Wang Shifeng said 1 or 2 silver coins. In the human market, an ordinary maid is only 7 or 8 taels of silver. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.